and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of the streaming platforms, public access channels, the Kitty Rose lifestyle, or the program underwriters.
Tim's on my feet, stomping out the negativity. Everybody not a friend of me. Spread the love, still I move deliberately. Bully face on, but the smile be heavenly. Brooklyn girls, so they love the energy. Love sincerity, so I take the liberty to take them on a journey lyrically.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Next Chapter, where we discuss shades of gray. I know the screen looks a little different today because it's just me, so I am your host, Minister Cat, aka Kitty Rose. And I'm joining you today alone. My team said that I can do it. We're having a bad connection today with the Wi-Fi. As some of you may know, my co-host Melissa D is in Puerto Rico, so we Skype her in every week. And today we were not able to connect. But my team, I don't know if it was a compliment or not, said that you could talk by yourself for an hour. So here it is, guys. For an hour, you have just me, your girl Kitty Rose. So I welcome you to join this ride with me for an hour today as we discuss this week's topic of the week. This week's topic of the week is an interesting one, I must say. And if you guys can hear me, I sound a little bit congested, but this topic was I was so excited to discuss it that I pushed through and came in anyway today at the end of my call, separated from my team to bring to you guys this week's topic, which is, drum roll, the 5 love languages. Now, Melissa, as my partner on the show, we produce the show together. So we come up with topics together. And it's interesting because all of these topics that I've never really even heard about or even think about, these things Melissa brings to the table. And when one of my assistant director said that this is a huge topic right now that everyone is talking about, I noticed that when I was doing the research, how many people were actually talking about these 5 love languages. And I briefly over the years have heard about it, but I never really, dissected or understood what that meant. I guess I felt like it was some nuanced thing that people were saying and never really got into trying to dissect what that meant and if I even applied those 5 love languages to my own personal relationships. So in this next chapter in my life, I know it's very important for me to, understand, where I'm at, be cool with where I'm at, and if I'm not cool with where I'm at in my life, how can I apply what I'm learning or what I've learned so that I can be better, And because that's where I'm at right now, how I can be better than I am already. So, let's start out scripturally. Scripturally, we always go back to at least understanding what love is. And I think that the best definition is the one that the scriptures give us, that God shows us, that Jehovah God shows us about love. I'm currently in a relationship and, I definitely feel loved. But one of the interesting things that was said throughout this time that I've been in this relationship is, I'm not sure what love is. I don't know exactly what I know. I say I love you to certain people in my life, but is that just a part of the routine, the robotics of living? Or what actually does that mean when I'm saying it? So again, scripturally, if we go back to one of the most famous scriptures that are out there in regards to love, that's 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 8. And it talks about how love is long-suffering and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. Love is not puffed up. Love does not behave rudely. Love does not seek its own. Love is not provoked. It thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity. I said that wrong, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things, love never fails. Wait, there's more. Hold on. Love never fails. But whether there are prophecies that will fail, oh no, that's not what I wanted to go. Yep, that's what I wanted to end at. Love never fails. So in all of those qualities that describes the attribute of love, now how do we take those qualities or attributes of love and now define them or apply them to what now folks is calling the five love languages when it deals with how we deal with each other? Because the love languages are not just how we deal with each other romantically, but how we deal with personal relationships at the same time. So in my research, the first video is actually pretty clear and at least defining what those 5 love languages are. So we're going to go to that and then come back and talk about what they are.
To Love That Lasts by Dr. Gary Chapman. So have you ever been in one of those relationships where you think you're doing everything you can to please your partner, but they're still feeling frustrated and unloved? I mean, you're giving them compliments, you work hard all day to bring home the bacon and pay the bills, you give them gifts, and you even do some chores around the house, but they're still feeling unloved. I mean, what more do they want, right? It's incredibly frustrating and annoying. Well, the reason why they aren't feeling loved, in short, is that you're not speaking their love language. The premise of the book is that people don't give and receive love in the same way. Most of us think that the way we want to be loved is how others want to be loved as well, but this is not the case. There are in fact 5 love languages. This is huge because if you're not speaking the same language as your partner, then you could be missing the mark completely and not even know it. It's basically the equivalent of a British guy trying to talk to a Chinese guy. It's not going to go well because they're simply not going to understand each other. If you're going to have a strong relationship, you have to know how you and your partner both give and receive love. The 5 love languages are words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch.
Wow. Oh man, this is when I miss my co-partner, Melissa. I thought that was interesting because what stood out in my mind was how others want to be loved. And I think can say that I've done that. I have fallen victim to wanting someone to love me the way that I was loving them, or the way that in my head I was supposed to receive love. So how others want to be loved, sometimes the trap can be that we're not speaking the same language, because what one might think that they're actually giving might not be what one wants to receive. I thought that was, I found myself, and it's funny because I felt like a little bit last week we talked about that. We talked about, those issues of abandonment. Sometimes those issues of abandonment trickle down into our adulthood, and we have behaviors that we're not aware of because of something that happened to us younger, and now we're starting to apply those things in our lives as an adult, how we engage with each other. So what are those 5 love languages that this doctor was talking about in his thesis that then became this book, that now became like the manuscript of what we now base our 5 love languages on in a general sense of the world? And I don't know if that's just a United States thing. I didn't do that much research. I don't know if it's a global understanding that these 5 love languages are this. But I think that it could be because, again, one of the myths that this show is breaking down is that there's not really much difference or discrepancy between us, between the races, between the cultures. We're all kind of really going through the same things and have the same emotional highs and lows. So if this is something that we can take here in the United States, this is probably something that can be applied globally. So these 5 love languages are words of affirmation, time, gifts, acts of service, and touch. And when I was going over these 5 love languages, I was trying to figure out what's mine. Do I have a particular language? Do I have all 5? Do I have 4 out of the 5? And I was trying to I like kind words. Yeah, they don't hurt, but I don't really trip on that, I don't think. Time. Everyone wants time, so I think that definitely is big on my radar. But it's funny because the last relationship I thought the last romantic relationship I thought I was in, he didn't give me a lot of time. And I wasn't okay with it, but I was okay with it because I was trying to be the bigger person, the more mature person, and realize that he was out here, with $1 million corporation, and that was where his time needed to be. So I was falling back a little bit, and then realized that hey, it wasn't really, he was just that busy in work. He was cheating on me, but I digress. So yes, time I think is important. Gifts. I think gifts is a tricky one, because when they talk deeper into the video, and we have the credits at the end for you guys to go and see more of the video on your own. But gifts is tricky because when they talk about gifts, they didn't talk about necessarily expensive gifts or elaborate gifts. It could be something as simple as a card, But sometimes I think gifts also are guilty pleasures. Like, I'm paying for something, or I'm paying for the lack of time I can't give you. So I don't know about the gifts things, because I've always had dudes, and not to brag, that's always bought me things. And, now being in a relationship, I feel like, are you trying to compete with the gifts that other men have bought me? So gifts is tricky. Acts of service. What do they mean by that? Again, you can go in further and dissect this video on your own. But acts of service is like things even in the house. Example that was given was something, like something as simple as taking out the trash. And I know, for some people you might not think that that's something big, but it is something big when you seem like you're the only one responsible sometimes for the maintenance or the upkeep of things, and your partner just kind of, maybe might do something that takes something off your shoulders or off your weight that you're normally the one in the household taking care of. So those kinds of acts of service, yeah, I think are generous. But I feel like, isn't that what you're supposed to do in a relationship? Like, is that really like something I'm going to stand out and say, yo, he deserves a medal because he does acts of service in the household or in the relationship? And then it's the last one, personal touch, which I also think is tricky because I think, I watch I watched my daughter and her boyfriend together. They're 19 and they're always touching each other. You know what I'm saying? They're always holding hands in the car. They're always on the couch on top of each other. They're always touching each other. And me and D just like, I don't know, because I'm 48 and he's 60 now. It's like, okay, like if we hold hands, okay, cute. Okay, great. But I'm not tripping trying to break my neck holding his hand down the street. Like, what? Wait, what? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, if you get older, the touch thing is not as important. I think those light touches are cute. Like, I like the, occasional touch my butt or touch my shoulder. I like those things, I don't know if it was constant. If I would, sometimes I think that could be smothering for both parts. So I think it's interesting when you're trying to find out what your love language is, and then finding out what your partner's love language is. And you know what? Sometimes it might not be the same. Woo! It's so funny because each week, when we, this is a sidebar. Each week when we produce these shows or when we produce these topics, we base it on, the conversation of me, and Melissa and myself going back and forth. So, we have to do like a breakdown, so that the control room also can help us navigate through the conversation. So, if I'm in a conversation and I have 4 minutes allotted for a certain, segment, I'm thinking that it's going to be the 4 minutes between Melissa and myself. But today it's just you and I in here talking. So I hope that I've talked enough that I can go into the second video that I pulled for you guys, because this second video actually, was what I found interesting when two people don't necessarily share the same love language. And when they don't share the same love language, then what do you do? And the funny thing about this next video that I'm about to show you guys is that the round table is black women. Actually, the next two videos are round tables of people of color. And, you know, I'm not saying, you know, that white folks are not, you know, caring about progression, and they're not caring about love languages, because I'm sure that if I did more research, I would have found a round table of white women or white men on the same topic. But what I love about finding these two videos of young black people, and not young like in their 20s. I would have to say these folks look like all adults, late 30s, coming into their 40s, maybe 50s, is that the one thing I've noticed, even in the last couple of weeks, when we talked about, you know, voting, when we talked about, you know, childhood abandonment, when we talked about weeks ago trauma within men, you know, black folks right now, you know, I don't know if it's a little bit pre-COVID, but definitely since COVID, there's been an awakening, you know, with us. And I think that these conversations that are having, you know, are more relevant than more in any other time before, because we're not only just looking to have these conversations anymore, but we're actually striving to be better. We're looking to each other to find the answers to be better to each other. And I think in being better to each other, then we can be better to everyone else. Because the problem with tolerance, the problem with acceptance from others is when we don't have acceptance within our own community, when we don't tolerate our own or each other. And we don't because we're overwhelmed, we're tired, we're bombarded, and we don't get a break as a people. And not just us, you know what I'm saying? Not just us. There's other communities that also don't get a break. But I can't speak on those because I am a woman of color. I am a black woman. I'm a woman of African descent. So I can only speak to my history, my journey here thus far on this plane. And because of the manipulation that has been done, my people weren't just enslaved in body. Now, I'm sure other cultures have been enslaved by body the way that mine was, but my culture was also enslaved with the mind, and has still been enslaved up until 2019. The Willie Lynch syndrome was a 400-year plan of mental slavery upon the black African American race. So at this point in time, when 2019 was now gone, and this cloud we've had over us, now we're at a point of, okay, we're tired of feeling tired. We're finally to a point that we're able to not only receive, but to now take action. So when we talk about these love languages, when we talk about voting, when we talk about childhood abandonment, all of these issues that we are now talking about in the next chapter, we're talking about them because now, unfortunately, but fortunately, we as a society is ready to receive these conversations, not in judgment, but in healing with actual tools to how to understand and be better. So check out this second video where this round table of some beautiful black women talked about when the differences in a relationship occur with these 5 love languages.
Love. Right. But I guess my question maybe for you is say if you have the way that you need to be loved, right, and then your partner has the way that they need to be loved, and you don't necessarily connect to that, do you feel like that's something that's a deal breaker, or is there a way to move past and give the person what they need, yes, without feeling like you're sacrificing something?
So for me, what's crazy is that every relationship isn't the same, but my advice to anyone, and what I feel like has worked for my relationship, and it's my friend Jerome's dad said this at his sister's wedding. When he was presiding over their wedding, he told both of them, he said, if you wake up every day and your goal is to make her happy, and she wakes up every day and her goal is to make you happy, then you're both happy. Mm-hmm. So for me, me and my husband do not have the same love language at all. But if I'm always focusing on like, how can I make sure that he's happy and that he loves me? If he's doing the same thing, we're both taken care of. You know what I mean? Like, you can do it isolated. Like, I can wake up every day just concerned about myself and make sure Ashley's happy. That's fine. But then we're having a singular situation. You know what I mean? But if we want to be a union, and it doesn't, so then I'm not feeling neglected because he's taking care of me and I'm taking care of him and we're both being taken care of. Nice. So I don't need him to be me. You know, so if he needs something or I can communicate in the way that he needs. It's going to be effective for him. Right. And he does the same thing for me. So then you're fine.
Yeah, to the beautiful black women out there. Oh man, what did you guys think? What stood out to me was the goal to make sure he's happy. And if I'm doing that, especially in a relationship where I feel mutually that he's doing things to make me happy, then I think, yeah, that could actually work. I know for myself, again, you know, I put myself on blast, and that's not always good for the people that I'm dating or married to or engaged to or with at the time. But hopefully they're okay afterwards when I share, you know, my point of view based off of my relationship. But in my relationship, you know, I notice that sometimes, you know, if there's things that I particularly want, like I'm big on, you know, texting in the morning. You know, I don't live with my partner, you know, so my thing is like, you know, after I say good morning to the Creator, you know, and say my prayers and grateful, you know, and get up and go to the bathroom and do whatever I do, then the first person after I, you know, text my kids or get a text from my kids is I want to call or text my man, my partner. He could wait until he gets to work later on. You know, it's not that serious to him. And it took me a minute to realize that it wasn't that serious, but what he started to do is, now that it was serious to me or that it mattered to me, is all right, you know, I'll text her in the morning when I get up as well, or I'll call her in the morning when I get up as well, or I'll text her and I'll call her later, you know, like when I get to the office. So I'll make the exception. And at first I didn't want him to do that because I was like, well, I don't want you to do it just because I said it, you know, or just because I'm nagging. I want you to do it because it's natural. Like, how you don't want to talk to me first thing in the morning? You ain't go to sleep with me, you know, like, what you mean? But again, something in my head was being more than it needed to be. And him, instead of like, you're crazy or fuck you or, you know, whatever, or dismissive of me, he was like, okay, you know, I can be more mindful. And I think that that's what happens. And it's so funny because we almost went, 30 minutes, 20 minutes without me saying a curse. And I just said my first curse. I truly didn't mean to, but hey, it came out anyway. But yeah, so that's the other tricky thing, you know, do we now just do things because our partner wants us to do it? Then it doesn't become authentic, and or it becomes like a job, and we don't want that. But I think that's not what they're talking about, you know. I think what I started to appreciate was the effort. Like I said, no, I don't want you to do it because I'm telling you to do it. But then I had to sit back and was like, but the fact that he's taking the moment to hear you and respect how you feel, even if he doesn't agree, but knowing that it's important, how nice, how generous is that of him? You know what I'm saying? Because it's not that serious. And it's those little things, I think, that then begins to make the relationship okay, you know, because again, nothing is going to be perfect, but I think what you're looking for is not just compromise, but you're looking for a compromise because I want her to be happy. I want him to be happy. And if I have to do this or that and a third to make her happy, then I'll do that. And I think because of the happiness then now she displays or she has, then she now plays those gifts forward, not tit for tat, just naturally. And then now you have a situation where both people are happy for each other. You know, does that make sense? Let's go with our first PSA while we think about that a little bit.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years and I got my third child who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as, you think we've done for you.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Let 211 be your guiding light for help with food, healthcare, and other resources.
211, how can I help you?
Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211, get connected, get help.
We scored? Yeah, we scored. We're going to the playoffs. I can't believe I missed that. Every time I'm buzzed, I spend too much time on my phone. What? I should take your phone away. No. I'll call for a ride. Wait, why does my face look like that?
I'm playing with these new face filters.
Okay, you know what? Yep, that's mine.
But I need that back.
No.
Kevin!
I really love the 211 PSA that we get to show you guys every week. And I hope that those out there who are in need of help or assistance in the direction of help reach out to that number and get the resources that 211 allots to you guys. Not only that, I don't know if you also realize that each week when we shoot the next chapter, and I kind of realized this last week in editing, is the value that myself, but really Melissa D, gives you guys every week. You know, I know that you guys just see, you know, the dynamics of, you know, the two women on your screen, but Melissa D, if you guys pay attention each week to this show, she really does give you guys some solid clinical resource and information each week that is so valuable to the things that we talk about. And I wanted her to know how much she was valued, and I wanted you guys to really understand the value that she brings each week, because even though we co-produce this show together, you know, this is her profession, and each week she gives you guys 2 hours of free free bono. What's that? Free bono? Free work of consultation each week of these topics that we bring to you, that she gets paid on a hourly basis to give her clinical and doctor say it in my ear, someone. Psychiatrist point of view. So I wanted to shout out Melissa D and really, you know, let her know how much she is appreciated and valued on this show. And when I actually told her how much she was valued, she said that was actually her community service component, because, you know, as doctors, they're supposed to give, you know, kind of like free time, you know, each week, charitable acts of service, you know, to clients or to the community each week. So this is her charitable contribution each week to our community by giving us her professional point of view. So I really want you guys to take in the things that she gives to us each week. You know, a couple of weeks ago, she asked me about, you know, being a racist. And I made the joke because I think that as much as there are words in power, I think that the way to take away some of these power in these words is to actually not simplify them, but simplify them to, you know, everyday existence. And when I talked about being a racist, no, I am not a racist. But when I talked about a racist in having power, you know, I'm appreciative of the fact that Melissa co-produces and co-hosts this show with me and is a psychiatrist. But would I personally go out and look for a white, you know, therapist? No, I wouldn't. And I said that. And my therapist is not a white woman. My therapist is a black woman, because I do, again, believe that one's culture definitely helps one understands one culture. And there's not much I believe Melissa can help me with as a black woman, understanding my plight as a black woman as a white woman. But that doesn't take anything or discredit anything away from each week the value that she brings to this show by giving her clinical professional advice or not advice, understandings to the topics that we bring to experiences to the topics that we bring to you guys each week. So I just wanted to, like I said again, give a kudos, and if you can't, contact Melissa directly, because we do put her information online throughout the shows or even at the end. Again, take value of 211, because one of the things politically we was talking about a couple of weeks ago when we talked about voting is these little, day-to-day operations on the ground floor of what helps our communities. And it's different organizations on these grassroots, that's the word I was looking for, these grassroots companies or these grassroots organizations that really help build our communities. So take those resources and use them if need them. And if you don't need them, use those resources for the loved ones and our family that can use them. So again, going back to our topic of the week, when we talked about what are the 5 love languages, the one thing that, again, incorporating the scriptures and the way that Jehovah God loves us and the way that they say Jesus loved us because he gave his life for us, these attributes or qualities of love helps us define how we can give each other these different love languages, how we can be mindful of our words, how we could be mindful of our time, how we can be mindful of the small gifts, big gifts that we give each other, how we can be mindful of little acts of service, how we can be mindful of touch because of love being patient, because of love being long-suffering, because of love also being unconditional. Now, does that mean that because love is unconditional, that you can't be hurt by love? No, it does not mean that. Does that mean that someone can't still do you wrong, even in their good intentions of love? No, it doesn't mean that. And the reason why I say that is because we as sinful humans have to learn that no, we can't be like God. I will never claim to that. I am a child of God. I am a goddess in the eyes that I'm made in the image of God, but I don't have the patience of God. But what I can strive to do is have the patience that he has for me, an inkling. And if I have an inkling of that patience, that long suffering, that mercy that he gives to me onto another human being, I'm halfway through. We're halfway through. And that's the point that we're trying to make, how our behaviors here on earth, on the time that we have here, that we engage with each other, how we make that better, how we make that the most, because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what happens when I die. I don't know if I'm going to get resurrected. I don't know if I'm going to be in paradise. I don't know if I'm going to heaven. I don't freaking know. And I wish I did. But because I don't know, what I do know is what I have now. So what we have now is educating each other to make the best of where we at and what we have now. So our third video gives us another perspective. And that perspective is going to be key to rounding this conversation up. Because you're hearing from a woman. And I don't want you to think that it's just, we stand for women and it's what women say. Let's hear what some men have to say on the topic of the 5 love languages.
I don't know all the 5 love languages because I feel like there are more than just 5, the way that I love. I love making people laugh. I know right now I may seem a little serious in this round table talk, but I am the biggest nerd and goofball. I'm going to play pranks. I'm going to crack jokes. I'm going to tell you crazy stories. I'll tell you what happened in my day. One of my love languages is making you laugh. Mm. Whether you're my best friend that I play college ball with, or if you're my little sister or my significant other. Also, I like physical touch, but too much of it, it's like a cat. You rubbing a cat, and after a while, they're like, all right. That's enough. Sometimes it can be a little too much. I had a rough time dealing with that wonderful creature that we call a woman, because I didn't know how to understand her. So my love language is like, you never will. And you never will because you are not them. It's like I don't know what it feels to be 7.5 feet tall, and I never will because I'm not. But I'm just using a crude example. But one of my love languages, is laughter. And communication is definitely key. I don't know if these other love languages, so anybody out there, excuse me if I'm getting them wrong. But that seriously. I'm one who grew up with a lot of conformity and a lot of rules and a lot of stringent guidelines. I am more having more of an amoeboid type of approach to things. Is fluid. Like I'm more natural. Nature doesn't go with rules and stringent lines and angles and things like that. I like things to be fluid, which is why I communicate. And I think, to your point, Kay, sometimes being in your emotions when you communicate in one of your love languages, if you or any of you do something, say we all best friends, right? And I have something that is very near and dear to me, but it's personal and it's private and it hurts when you bring it up. And you make a joke about it in front of somebody that I don't know. I'm gonna give you that look like, Kay. Yeah. Like, what are you doing, bro? Because if I say, "Oh, Kay, come on, man, don't josh me like that," no, I'm gonna let you know, hey, man, that ain't cool, bro. Because if you don't do that, you're honest with yourself, but honest with that other person. Like, hey, man, that's not what we do. And with that level of communication, sometimes I've been told in relationships or dating that I'm intimidating.
Intimidating. Yes, I've heard that. Intimidating. I've definitely heard that, and I've been given that that label before. And I think because, again, as the gentleman mentioned, when you kind of are raised in a structured environment where there's lots of rules, you can fall into that. But love is fluid, and when you are a communicator, sometimes that directness, it's a communication is tricky because communication doesn't always mean being so blunt with how you address a situation or a topic. And I think sometimes for me, in my bluntness, in my objectiveness of communicating, I can seem intimidating. And in my head, I'm like, I'm 5'7", 125 pounds. How the hell am I intimidating? But in your way that you talk to someone, in the words that you use, even though you're coming from a place of you think is one of clear, direct understanding, that person could hear someone who sounds like they were in their feelings about something. And I took that from when he said that, because what that means is sometimes when you think that someone is in their feelings, then you can fall into maybe a trap of not respecting boundaries and making a joke about something that actually might not be joke or funny to someone in a public situation. So I think that one of the things that I enjoyed that the brother said was talking about how one of his love languages is laughter, and that wasn't something that was mentioned in the 5 love languages of words of affirmation, time, gifts, act of service, and touch. Laughter wasn't mentioned. And something, I think for me, laughter is big, because one of the things that I love right now about the relationship that I'm in, and I think sometimes that overshadows things that could be wrong, that might not be wrong, but things that could be wrong, is that I have so much fun with this person, that I'm always laughing with this person. And I think that, yes, laughter is definitely one of my love languages, So again, when I was trying to understand this breakdown, when I got this video and found this video, of this round table of, this 30 to 50-year-old men, maybe even older than that, it brought such joy to my heart, because the conversation wasn't really about love languages. I just took 2 minutes out of a 16-minute conversation, again, that you can go back to after watching our show and watch at your own convenience, because I'll have the credits underneath in the end of the show. But again, it's the time being taken to have the conversation. And it wasn't no catty conversation. Both men and women, there were no catty conversations. There was no blame game. Well, if he did this and if she did this, no. It was all accountability to what can I do better? What can I hear so that I can make the necessary adjustments so that I can receive what I want, and that partner of mine can then also receive what they want. Because you know that saying that they say happy wife, happy life, it's all the same. When your partner is happy, then 9 out of 10 times they're gonna make you happy at the same time. So it's almost like this, like I was telling you guys last week about serving Jehovah. My love to Jehovah is pure, but it's a little selfish because, you know, I'm serving him, you know, so that I can gain everlasting life in paradise. So it's the same thing in a relationship. I'm gonna work on these acts of kindness or these acts of love or these love languages because I want my partner to be happy, because if he's happy, guess what? He's gonna make sure I'm happy. And I think that that's not a bad thing. I think that that allows us to understand what we want in life. I don't know, what do you think? Let's go to a PSA while you guys think about that.
What if you could feel in control of your retirement in just a few clicks? At aceyourretirement.org, you can. Start with a free 3-minute chat with Avo, your friendly digital retirement coach. Just answer some simple questions like, how do you feel about your ability to save for retirement? Or in how many years do you want to retire? To get free action items customized just for you. Get your retirement back on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Jason, let's go see your room.
No, that's not right. How was it? Is it good?
Man, it's lonely. Like, going through life lonely.
There is the therapeutic aspect of music, just expressing how you feel. I'm going to talk to Howie about his feelings, make it into a song.
Thank you, William, for pulling that PSA. I saw it on someone else's show a couple of weeks ago, and I thought that that was key, even with today's show, in regards to communication, because it's finding ways to communicate with each other. And music is definitely a way that we can communicate to our youth, but not only communicate to our youth, but also kind of communicate with each other. And not necessarily through music, but finding different ways and outlets that we can have these conversations that may seem uncomfortable, but we have to find ways to get past the uncomfortableness to have the conversation so that we can understand how we feel. Do you know how much you can get past once you break down the walls of a child or a teen who's going through just adolescence, peer pressure, and you use music to kind of, you know, interject conversation or, you know, interject time so that now that time being spent then goes into different conversations. And it's the same thing with these adult relationships that we have. We're trying to figure out, you know, how we can maneuver. We're trying to figure out how we can, you know, understand and best get. So that's how we come upon this Jesus moment. You know, they say it couldn't be done. Well, I said it couldn't be done, but my team in the control room said it could be done. We halfway through. And at the Jesus moment, that's what I come to. I come to communicating to ourselves and our partners or those that's important in our lives. So it could be the relationships I have with my girlfriends, the relationships I have with my children, the relationships I have with my man, the relationships I have with my team. How do I communicate what it is that I want so I can get what I need, and in then getting what I want and need, I can give them what they want and they need because they're feeding me everything I need and everything I want. So in doing that, you know, going back to the 5 love languages, I don't know which out of these 5 are mine per se, but I think what's important about the Jesus moment, the level of communication, is I have to sit down and have a conversation with my partner on a romantic level, and probably with my girlfriends, and even with my children, and ask them, what's important to you? What would you like me to do more of? Is it words of affirmation? Do you need more of that? You know, am I not telling you enough that I love you, or that I care for you, or that I like you today? You know, what can I do to make you more confident in the love that I have to you? Again, not just to my man, but to my children, to my girlfriends, those that I have relationships with. Am I giving enough time? Am I giving you enough time? Sometimes I think, you know, between my children and my man and my work, you know, hey, what more time do I have? But are not my other relationships just as important? Is not my relationship with my man important? Or is it so important that it overshadows everything else? So again, having the conversation with my peers, my man, my kids, my girlfriends, do you need more time? Am I giving enough time in this relationship? Gifts. My boyfriend said that he likes gifts. I've been in 4 serious relationships. And, you know, besides my husband, my last relationship, I was with the DJ for 6 years straight and 2 years off and on. So we was together 8 years. And I don't know if I ever, outside of his birthday, bought him a gift. And I don't say that to say that's good. I say that to actually be ashamed of myself, to realize that, wow, you've never really bought him anything. And when I shared this in a conversation with my current relationship, he mentioned how, well, you know, I might have not married you either, you know, because, you know, you take for granted what somebody is always doing for you, or what's been done for you, or because someone's not your husband yet. I don't know what I was thinking in my head. But for wherever I was thinking, those things that could have been important to him because we didn't have the conversation, I don't know if or isn't, but I know now reflecting, I felt bad. I feel bad. So I made a conscious effort in my next relationship, where I actually dated a millionaire who didn't need anything, but I made it my business to buy him things, little things, to show him that it wasn't about him having all this money, because he was just used to just giving, giving, giving. And then it trickled down to the relationship that I'm in now. I make sure that, you know, I don't give him maybe what he gives me, or on the level of how he gives me things, but I make sure to be thoughtful in the little gifts that I also give him, because he makes it his business to tell me how he wants gifts. Again, if we didn't have those conversations, I wouldn't have known. Acts of service, touch, all of these things are important, but unless I have the communication ready, the communication open to receive or to have, so that I can receive this information, then I'm gonna still be unhappy. And I guess, isn't that the point of all of this? What can we do to make sure that we are happy and stay happy? So that goes right into our inbox question for the week. Our inbox question, and I want to, guys, thank you guys. You guys are, you know, doing good each week. We're not getting as much as we like, which is kind of good, because then it allows people to get their questions heard on air. But we love to get some more from you guys, so please keep them coming. You guys can go to our Facebook group page in order to submit those questions. But this week's inbox questions comes from Lisa from the BX, and she says, or she asks, is it weird that you guys have different religious beliefs? This is definitely something that me and Melissa had to answer together, but I'll answer for the both of us. It's not weird, actually. It's quite refreshing, because I think that if we did share the same religious beliefs, then we would almost sound like we was converting you guys every week. But I think the fact that we come from different religious backgrounds and beliefs, that we're able to bring those beliefs to you guys in a professional way that you can feed that you can take the information we are feeding you guys and take them for yourself. Because again, as I mentioned last week, that's all that we're here to do. We're not here to, convert you. We're not here to convince you of anything. We're here to give you a different way of looking at things in a conversation that's not being had. So by us having different backgrounds and different beliefs, I think actually works to giving you guys a clear understanding of the way that the world may look at things, so that you guys can make for your own decisions what feels good and what feels right for your life. I hope that was good. I hope that, how did that sound, team? I hope that was a good enough answer. Yeah, so thank you guys. Thank you, Lisa from the Bronx, from the BX. So this week, guys, I know last week I told you that I went to go see Hadestown. Yes, Hadestown. And they won 8 Tonys this season. And in a minute, you guys will see why. So if you are here in New York, check out Hadestown. Here we go.
Down here, hotter than a crucible. It ain't right and it ain't natural.
Lover, you were gone so long. Lover, I was lonesome. Think of it as my desire.
So we can see, show the way the world can be. If you can do it, so can she. If she can do it, so can we. Show the way. I'm coming, wait for me. I hear the world repeating. Falling of our feet, and it sounds like coming. And we are not alone. I hear the rocks and stones echoing our song. I'm coming. I'm coming, wait for me. I hear the walls repeating, the falling of my feet, and it sounds like drumming. And I'm not alone. I hear the rocks and stones echoing my song. I'm coming.
Everybody trying to get a ticket to go, but those who go, they don't come back. They're going way down. Hadestown, way down under the ground.
I loved it. It was so good. How many times have you seen the show yet? This is the second time I've seen the show. But you knew the words. In the songs. I saw you singing the songs. Well, I listened to the soundtrack after the first time I saw the show. And just being able to experience it again, it's like nothing else.
It was definitely not what I expected, but it was outstanding.
Who brought you here tonight? Who brought you here tonight?
Tony Israel.
I think it was breathtaking. I love how the actors get you I feel like home in here. It's really amazing.
Was it what you expected?
Of course, I came all the way from Chile to this, and it's just amazing. I was crying half of the show.
Amazing. It was uplifting. Was it what you thought?
It wasn't. The music was better.
Wow. Did anything stand out?
The singing stood out. The staging stood out. I was amazed at the lighting is excellent. And the musicianship is phenomenal.
It's an old song.
It's an old song.
It's an old tale from way back when. It's an old song.
It's an old song.
And we're gonna sing it again.
Attend with us.
Attend with us.
I think it's a very heartfelt story, and I think it's a story that we can all relate to. And it's just a beautiful set and cast, so you definitely say come out. Get your seats wherever you are. We were all the way up on top and we had a good time.
#attend with us.
It had a lot of imagery in it.
Any favorite scenes?
Yes.
One in particular?
One in particular was Mr. Hades and what was her name? Persephone when they danced.
Oh.
That was beautiful.
Attend with us.
#attend with us.
Thank you again. Attend with us.
I didn't really do that justice, but you guys have got to go see Hadestown if you are here in New York. We're working on having the stage manager come on a future episode of the next chapter because yes, the stage manager is a black woman. So we are definitely wanting to shout her out. And I don't have a lot of time, but every time you go see this play, there might be a different cast member. And I say that to say that it didn't matter. Like, I had my whole mind in the narrator of the story. I wanted to see the guy who won the Tony for that. But the guy I saw, who was the understudy of the understudy, was just as brilliant. The first second in, I forgot about who the original character is. When I looked at the trailers, those people as the background dancers or chorus are not the ones that I saw. So each show has different characters playing them, but each show is such beautifully well orchestrated that it is a must-see. They won 8 Tonys for a reason. They won Best Musical, not really only based on the story itself, but based on just everything that they involved in making this production, from the musicians being on stage to the background chorus being the props. Excellent show. So again, guys, I recommend you guys going to see Hadestown. If you are in New York, get your tickets. You can get them from different outlets here. You know, I'm working with Walker Communication. So hey, I don't know if I have some hookups, but I might. And in order to get those hookups, you got to do this part of the show, which is my most not favorite part of the show, but is essential because I need you guys to like, follow, and share. One more time. Like, follow, and share. You know, I'm getting the likes. We're getting the likes. We're getting the follows. Each week, the audience is getting bigger. Each week, we're on a new network. But we're not getting you guys to share as much as we need you to. So come on, get out there, share. And when you share, don't forget to inbox us your question that you would like to have us answered next week on air. So this is it. An hour. I did all by myself. Whoop, 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 whoop. Okay, cat. Okay, kitty. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing that I can hold a conversation for an hour by myself. But I did it because you guys was with me this week, and I had such a good time with you guys. So come on back next week. Next week is Thanksgiving, so we'll see you guys when we come back. And on that note, I'm your girl Kat from the KittyRose. This is the next chapter where we discuss Shades of Grey.
We get busy, it's cause we actually do. Take a look into my eyes, let them take you to the side. Meet my ride or die, staying nigh. Thankful for my sisters by my side who held me down during dark times. Many train rides I took to get $1 for a rhyme. A luggage in the sign, me while on my mind. I'm thinking I should be in my prime. It ain't easy, but regardless, I'ma thrive. It's that spirit in me, NYC baby. Gucci Frito on the corner, but we stay hungry. First come lawyers and shit. That real life break from the heart of the city is as hard as it gets. This that New York shit. That real life break from the heart of the city is as hard as it gets. This that New York shit. That real life grip from the heart of the city is as hard as it gets.